that was a big thing last week.
It was more like a gathering.
Our Republic.
It's complex because it's super big. But when we're the cost of the disposal of the hauling company. So the way they are set up is it's got a small percent. It's actually less than the CPI right now. But I don't know about the they call us to receive some of the costs, yes. But not a full. Not a great deal.
Use your mic. Yeah. Use your bleacher, use your mics. They can't hear us on video. Turn your mic on.
Mike, get it. Hot mic.
Oh, you get the okay?
To call this special meeting to order, call roll.
Mayor Cram?
Here.
Councilmember Newman? Here. Gomez?
Here.
McCall? Here. McCransky?
Here. So welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to have two presentations, actually three. We're going to have a presentation to start off from LRS from over in Atkinson. Then we'll have a presentation, and there'll be question and answer for the council. And we'll have a presentation from Republic Services, same thing, question and answer from the public. And then we will present the city's what the city's looking at as far as keeping the service in house. So with that. Chuck Duncan with LRS. I'll invite you up to the mic to state your name and make sure the mic is on. I think there's an on-off button there.
On the
make sure the green light is on.
Make sure the green light comes on.
Okay. I've got a few handouts to hand out to you all first. Coincide with our implementation plan, how we do the marketing to kick everything off the right way with the public. I'm not quite sure at the last minute that I sent that out, if that made that to everybody. So, and when this gets mailed to the residents, it'll look a whole lot prettier than that. That's just an example of what we've done in a different community. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah. The green light's on?
Green light is on, yes.
And did you state your name?
My name is Chuck Duncan with LRS.
Okay, you're set to go.
First presentation I've done with a mask on, so bear with me.
You can take it off, Chuck. You don't have to speak with it on.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I just didn't want to offend anybody in the public. Okay, so really, I wanted to open this up for more questions and answers and talk our way through what we have for the transfer station agreement, which is a separate agreement that's going to have to coincide with our hauling program, and then also touch on the key components of what we're offering you, a hauling service only at this point in time for municipal waste and potentially recycling, if that's the route that you all decide to go. So, a little bit about myself, just a quick introduction. Been in the trash business for, 10 years already. And work for a company called Advanced Disposal. Got bought out by a company called Waste Management and took an opportunity for this great company, LRS. LRS has been in business for roughly 20 years. I think we've got roughly 80 contracts within the northern Illinois, Wisconsin market, and we're in about 10 states right now. So, quick introduction on that. And I just want to open this up immediately for some questions on where we're at, on how much you've read on the proposal so far.
Chuck, and LRS is based out of, where's the home?
We're an Illinois-based company.
Home office.
Was Morton Grove, but just moved to Rosemont.
To Rosemont?
Yes.
And you have a facility in Atkinson, and that is you also own a landfill there as well.
Correct. So we're not We're not new in the area. We've been here. We opened that landfill up about 3 years ago, maybe a little longer. And we're just now starting to get our hauling operations here a little bit further south. So that's why we may be considered a new company in the area, but definitely not a new company, and definitely not small when it comes to the resources that we can provide.
Do your trucks leave in the morning out of Atkinson and then get dispatched out to whatever community they're serving?
Yes, they do.
Okay. So in the case of a bad snow day or something, your guy would, or your person would have to come from Atkinson to Princeton to begin his day's work if the weather allows?
For the time being, and I can't divulge any proprietary information about new locations that we'll be opening up in the near area, but is the circumstance there that we rent a facility here and want to park some trucks and come ask for permission to do so? Potentially. Am I proposing that as of today? No. We're completely confident with the road from I-80 coming here. Well, we'll be honest, typically a lot of those highways are cleared off well in advance before the side streets that we can even operate in a lot of towns of this size.
If you had a situation where, for whatever reason, on a particular day you can't come to Princeton to do your job, do you say, well, we just have to wait a week for those people, or do you come back the next day and do twice as much? Or
as outlined in the proposal in writing, and also we'll put those arrangements inside of a contract. This is relatively new for the city of Princeton, so I keep asking me those details, and I'll explain those. So the way it'll work is we will service if we aren't allowed to service for weather or something odd out of our control happens, we'll recover it within the next service day.
okay.
And same with the major holiday. That's another thing that might change from what you're currently doing. There'll be a list of holidays that'll be inside the contract. We'll actually announce that to the entire community so they know what days they are. And then if the holiday falls, for example, on a Wednesday, all your Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday collections will run a day late, and that's standard practice in the industry. We like to give our guys the day off on a holiday.
Sure. No, I get it. I just was curious as to how you would handle it.
Do you pick up on Saturdays if there's a need?
We do. We try not to run out excessively on Saturday, but if we have the route established on a Friday and we are not able to pick it up, we will do our best to collect it on a Saturday. And our customer service is actually open on a Saturday too, which is a little unique.
Where's your customer service located at?
Right now we're in Illinois-based customer service. So that's a tough question. Our actual corporate office is in, not Morgan Grove anymore, just relocated to Rosemont.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a completely in-house operation. But as my operation grows here in the local market, I very well may be taking calls at Atkinson or Monmouth or somewhere else around here with a little more of a local feel to where we can break off from the Chicago divisions. But we're not going to outsource your phone calls to Arizona or Houston, Texas, or India, or anywhere like that. You call us, and that's also in the proposal that we recognize that for the customer experience that we want to provide, and that's not to have long hold times. And if you can't get a hold of us by phone, which isn't going to happen, you can also send emails. So we got multiple ways to get a hold of us.
So if typically a customer service call is regarding someone was trash was not picked up and they're calling in, can that be responded to within 24 hours?
In the rare event that does happen, collection misses do happen as part of the nature of this business. So the way that we could put into the contract, and we're open, we can potentially be a little more flexible than some of our competition, is that we will collect it definitely within the next service day, and I could work on maybe putting some terminology in there within 24 hours. That starts to get tough on if we're going to have a Friday service.
Right.
So we deal with this. We handle obviously our own garbage pickup for decades, well, forever. We have situations where we have missed pickups. We'll miss a customer too. It's more of a rare occasion than it is a regular occasion where we get a call from someone who guys went by the house, they didn't pick up my garbage. So it's not a huge concern for us with the city handling the services. From a private company standpoint, you know, you're coming in here, you got new drivers, and you'll switch drivers out, I'm sure, from time to time because somebody might leave, or, you know. So on missed pickups, and I know that sometimes you know, I've heard stories where there will be an entire street that was missed. So I'd kind of like you to tell us about how your routes are established and how you know, how do you, is it, you go by GPS, or what do you go by as far as?
So that's kind of a three-pronged question. We have all the technology that a lot of the major, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies have. It's called Third Eye. A lot of actual a tracking system. So that's the purpose of that. Not necessarily for missed pickups, but it ties into that. So I'm going to answer your question, but I want to branch off onto that because it's something that we do offer, just like the multi-billion-dollar companies. In the event there's an accident, we have actual cameras in these new trucks. You'll get a brand new truck for this contract. It's called Third Eye, and it goes back 20 seconds forwards and backwards on any kind of accident that happens. So that if there's a traffic accident, we essentially have a better chance to know whose fault it was. It alleviates us from some liabilities along with yourselves because you're putting a new safety system in your community. And then it's a great coaching tool, but it's not how we run our drivers. We don't. It's not there for a big brother tool. It is there for some minimal coaching and to alleviate us and our contractor from some of the liabilities of accidents that may or may not have happened out in the community when those unfortunate things happen. So we do have the technology to track our trucks and say, hey, yeah, we stopped there at 8:05. The truck came to a complete stop. Do we have a camera out there to see if you serviced it or not? No. And I don't know that we, at this point in time, are offering a live service to where you can log on and see our truck. Those services are out there, but I don't know who wants to manage that, to be honest. Does anybody here want to do that? I guess the short answer to your question is we give our guys route sheets, and we try to establish the same drivers over and over and over, where one, they just know their routes without looking at their route sheet, and they're expected to check it off. And we don't run around town with tablets or anything like that. It's just really an unnecessary distraction, and we don't need to do that in this community. So we track them just enough. We keep our drivers in the communities. We don't have a very high turnover rate, and we just pick up your trash. It's pretty well the easiest way to do it. It's less phone calls for me, less phone calls for you, and less stress on our operations managers.
With the routes, I mean, I'm sure that you would look at Princeton's routes and how we pick up our garbage. It's a 5-day-a-week pickup. Mm-hmm. With the routes, would you look at those and possibly change those? Can you do it in 4 days? Would they remain the same?
We think we can do it in 4. That's part of in the proposal that I've documented for y'all is we'll have an implementation plan, and part of that is a meeting that we'll set up with our operations team. I don't pretend to be the expert of what I call operational Tetris on how they make all this work, but they will do a very, very, very thorough analysis, and they've already done part of it, and we'll come meet with the necessary leaders of your community to discuss a service day change or how many route days it's going to take. But we think that we can do it in 4, but as of right now, if it needs to be serviced in 5 and we want to keep it relatively the same, then we can do that also. We're flexible, and we will make it work. What makes sense and what's the most efficient and what works best for the public too.
Curbside recycling. Let's talk about curbside recycling. So recycling is important, and City of Princeton always has been. We were like the first community in this entire area to offer it many years ago. And we've always had free recycling in Princeton with drop-off. Okay. Curbside is, it's something that the city offered many years ago as a convenience, trying to get more people to recycle. So you do have a proposal for garbage only and also for garbage and recycling pickup.
Correct. So we want to give you the option. It's not our community, it's yours. So we leave that decision up to.
My question is, if you look at the garbage and recycling pickup, as far as the recycling is concerned, would you be billing only those who want a curbside recycling, or would this be a global charge attached to everyone that would have to pay the charge, and then only those that want a cart would get a cart? Or
The latter. So reasoning for that, and that's where still hear me okay? Reasoning for that is we want to encourage recycling. Our company was actually founded on recycling, and that may be a little different than any other vendor that may come through here. So we want to encourage it. We want people to do it, and we want them to do it the right way. So we don't want to put out a bunch of carts for everybody and tell people to recycle. We want it to be their choice. People tend to respond better when they have a choice on what they want to do. But the global charge, we have to do that for cost purposes. So essentially everybody would pay a little bit more above their trash price, but what that would do is that would leave the option for everybody in the community to contact our customer experience team or the city, or we're flexible on how we want to manage that. And then at that point, we will promptly deliver a cart out there, and I can put that time frame in a contract for you. But you're typically looking at 7 to 14 days at the most, and we'll just deliver the cart to the residents, just the ones that want to do so, with the hopes that more people will see their neighbor with their 65 or whatever cart size we decide to go with their program. I mean, the word spread, and they're essentially paying for it anyway. So it's sort of like insurance. Everybody pays a little bit to get the product.
So 100% of the waste that's picked up in Princeton, you will remove to the transfer station here in Princeton.
Correct. So with the original proposal that we did in a limited time frame that we had to do it, we weren't fully aware of the transfer station agreement arrangement, and so we offered an original proposal to haul it to our own facility, and then eventually for disposal take it to our landfill, and then also we were going to take the recyclables to one of our facilities and whatever else we may need to do in the future at a state-approved site. So we have retracted that as to not interfere with the current agreement that you have. That's not what we're here to do today. We're here to make ours work in harmony with the existing agreement. So we will take all of the trash to the Republic facility that you're contracted to be in, I believe, until 2047. Is that's right? Off memory. So at that point, we will act as an agent, a contractor for you. So with that, I've got a bunch of bullet points if we want to go through the transfer agreement to understand that fully. But the way that works is that you should still be able to receive your host fee. And so we also retracted that out of our original proposal where we were just going to pay for that, an estimated amount. So I think that host fee started out as $350, but it also looks like it's supposed to be a CPI change every year, so it should slowly trickle up. You're still going to get that. And then all the indemnification language in your contract will still, we're just a hauler for you. We're hauling on your behalf, so that'll stay with you.
As far as the CPI, what is the percentage that would go up?
Say that again?
As far as the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, there's some companies, though, if it goes over 3% for the year or 5%, they'll raise what the prices are on certain things. What is...
Are you talking for the transfer agreement or for my trash proposal?
For the cost. You're talking about cost for CPI?
Yep. So the cost for CPI, from my understanding of your transfer agreement between Republic and the city, you get a host fee at $350, and I think that goes up whatever the CPI is. So $350 plus 1.0, whatever the price is every year, and so you'll still get that. I have nothing to do with that really. And Republic, according to their agreements, required to provide you monthly reports of what that tonnage is and what all that good information. I will literally have nothing to do with that. So on the CPI, but verify with your attorney. I'm flipping through a contract the day before we have to do this. That's a lengthy one. So what I'm going to do for the CPI for my trash contract is different. I'm going to haul the services for you, and I'll have a small cost increase, and that's in the proposal, and it didn't change between the two of them, and that's 3.5% every year to recoup some of our costs. So to deliver the recyclables, we will also deliver the recyclables on your behalf to the transfer station, and from my understanding of that is that Republic has to take, I think, somewhere between 600 and 1,000 tons. It's written a little funny. It looks like for free. Whatever the charge is between the two of you, it's not my place. So I would just be a hauler for that. And the proposal that I put together, that's my cost to haul. All the disposal and processing fees, that still remains the same. We are not here to interfere in an existing contract in any way, just to be absolutely clear.
And your proposal doesn't, I mean, your proposal.
The amendment retracts the original, yes. And so, go ahead. Did I answer your question on that? This is a complex agreement, which is best for like a private session.
It's a public document. You asked for it, and we provided it.
But it's hard to understand to the average listener out there.
I know we can't foresee the future and costs and things like that. You've got a 3.5% increase every year for this whole proposal. In years past, I know every contract is different with every different community or any type of business that you're with, right? But do you foresee, hey, after this 6 or 7 year contract, whatever it may be, do you foresee you going up 8, 10%? I mean, how do you guys look at that at the end of that contract? I know there's no guarantees, but I'm just looking to see, what could we be foreseeing in the future as far as that goes toward the end of this?
That's a tough question. I don't want to tell the future. Right now, we're giving you a contract price under CPI because it's in between 6 and 8%. Whenever I look, I don't want to get quoted on the microphone with that, but it's in between 6 and 8%. And is that going to continue for 3 more years and then it goes back down to 2.2%? I don't have the answer to that. I know if any of us did, we would make a lot of money in the stock market right now. So I don't want to foresee the future, but if you're looking to go to a private company and there's a concern there that you need a longer term contract outside of the I believe I got 10 years on there is what I got this drawn out to. We can look at offering a longer term contract, but we recommend 7 to 10 years, so that way you have an option periodically to go back out to bid and have another LRS come in if our you think our price is too high at that time. So I can put an extension language in there that could there's a lot of creative ways we can handle that, but something that's pretty common is that the two parties give each other 6 months notice. We write that into the contract. And then at that point, you have an option to say, hey, LRS, we're not happy with what you've been doing. We're going to go out to bid, and that way everybody knows the time frame that it's going to happen. Or you come to us before that 6 months and you say, we really like the service that you provided. What are we looking at for pricing on this 5-year extension, or whatever extension language you want in there? We can make that happen. And then we work together and look at the costs and say, well, we did that 3.5% for 7 years, and it went up to 10% every year. Then maybe we ask you for a little more of a raise, and if we ended up getting the better end of the deal, then maybe you come to us and say, could you lower your rate down a little bit? And I don't know if it's going to go that way, but we'll see. Do I want to come in here and say it'll be a 40% price increase? Absolutely not. I don't think I'll get the business at that point, but we'll see 7 years, 10 years down the road. That's the best answer I can give you on that.
You had mentioned that you don't have much employee turnover.
No, we got a great company.
COVID hit everybody, right? COVID has hit everybody pretty bad.
Absolutely.
As far as that goes. But has that affected you the last couple of years with COVID to where you haven't had enough guys to run trucks or anything like that in certain areas? Or do you always have a backup person? You haven't had those issues?
We've been very blessed and very fortunate thus far. Could that happen tomorrow? That could happen with every single person in this room today.
Right.
So that's tough. And I know when you're comparing company to company and apples to apples, that's a tough question to answer. And I can tell you that we've been very blessed and fortunate thus far, and I hope we continue that.
That's good enough.
We've got all the safety precautions.
One thing I noticed, if I remember on your proposal, is that you guys actually set up a separate website.
Take your mask off, please.
One thing I think I noticed in your proposal, that you set up a separate website for the city, or was that just to start out?
So, well, I'd prefer if you personally, it's a little more cost and a little more work on our part, but I like some of the personal contracts that I get, especially starting out in this market. I'd prefer if you would at least entertain us on setting up our website. So the way we do that is we put your community on our website, and that's got all the service updates, and we can really do a lot with that. But anytime anybody wants to access their trash program, they can literally just get onto our website. But what we can also do is we can link that to the city website, so it's easy to find. And yeah, we can do that. That's not a one-time thing. That's a permanent thing.
Okay.
Every community seems to want to be on the top of that website. So we're actually in the middle of changing it to where you type in your town and your address, and then your community will pop up, so you don't see all the other ones. Because we can only have that top spot for one community the way that it currently is. And you can get on our website and check that out. It's pretty easy.
Okay. Thank you.
One thing I was wondering, because you had mentioned our contract with the transfer station, and so we have a contract. The terms are through 2047, beneficial to the city. You know, we don't want anything obviously to happen with the contract that we have with them, with the relationship that we have with Republic on the transfer station. So after year 7, you know, as we get, you know, it's a 7-year, as you got here, it's a 7-year contract. So when you go into year 8 and beyond, you know, as far as assurances that our waste would continue to be taken to Republic or to the transfer station, should you be hauling our waste. You know, I guess when, you know, I fear that, you know, after a certain period of time, you'll want to remove your waste to, you know, to Atkinson. Or to Atkinson.
I think it's quite evident that a company like ours will approach you for some type of an agreement in the future, but we're talking 2047, so we'll get to that point when we get to that point. But if the city is, I think what I'm getting out of this is I need a minimum of a 5-year commitment from you for the capital cost to get all these carts out here. It's an insane cost to do this, and so. Minimum of 5 years. For illustration purposes in both proposals, I drew out what the estimated costs were going to be on a yearly, annual, and a per cart basis, up to 7 years, just for the fact that I just ran out of room on the paper and no one can read it if I make it any smaller. So I highly encourage a 7 to 10 year contract just to be competitive, and I drew the 10 years out in my current financial analysis to make this happen. If the concern is there that you want a contract that runs parallel to your transfer station agreement, I can look into that at your request. It's not something that was asked of me in the past, and that'd be a very long typical trash contract, which I'm willing to look into, and probably a good chance I can do it. So
my concern is if we have a 7-year contract with RLS as far as picking up our trash, then when it comes time to negotiate a new contract going forward. Is there the possibility that LRS will come back to us and say, you know, we prefer to start taking our trash to our own landfill? That's my concern.
No, because we're not.
In bad shape.
That's a great question. So we understand the terms of your current arrangement, and we are there to comply and to act in harmony with your current arrangement. And so we are not trying to infringe on the existing agreement in any way, shape, or form, and we never will. And so if at a point in time you're not happy with an arrangement that you're in with a separate entity, kind of like a marriage that's between you two, and if you decide to get a divorce, then at that point you can come and talk to me. But for now, we're not in the middle of your arrangement.
You don't want to.
And we don't want to. I can't say no.
No, I mean, I think as Joel was saying, that if we were to negotiate years 8 through 15, the condition would have to be that the transfer station that we're currently using would continue to be
that way. Absolutely. Do we have an interest to take trash to our landfill? Obviously, yes, but that's just not the way that it is, and we're in a very unique position in negotiation at this point in time, and we're willing. That's what we're here for today, to make sure that you're aware that we're quite flexible, and we just want to get our hauling company out in this marketplace and in the great city of Princeton.
Can you speak to the future of recycling? What's your take on the future of recycling? I know it's been some hard times in the past, which is trying to stop taking recycling materials, and I'm just kind of curious what your take is.
So the plastics are up, and as soon as I say that today, that could change tomorrow. So like I said, our company is founded on recycling. So if there's a way to recycle, we're going to recycle. It's not an if and or maybe. It's an absolute. There is money to be made in the recycling market. It may not be what the public thinks it is, and there's a lot of complexities that go along with that on what particular materials are marketable at the time, and that's an open market, and that's always subject to change. We just typically what we do in our trash agreements where we take the recycling as well is we just take that risk on, and if something gets there's some kind of change in law or something like that, then we would have an option to come and talk to you about it. But at this point in time, the risk is essentially on Republic to take that material. If that's where we have to take it to. So whether they have a market for it or not, I can't answer that. But if as a private company, there currently is a market for us. So that would not apply to this contract. We are strictly a hauling company for you.
Exactly. I was just curious on your take of the future of recycling, in the country. Not here, but...
That's tough. I could give my personal opinion, and then I might have someone from LRS executive team call me tomorrow and say, we don't necessarily agree with that right now, Chuck. So I want to abstain the best I can from that, by giving a direct answer on that. I apologize.
I understand.
What do you typically see in your other communities' percentage of recycling as far as residents? I mean, we feel we've got kind of a low percentage of people recycling right now. Where do most of your communities kind of end up?
So that's a tough question. I'd say anywhere between 70 and 90 to 99%. It depends on the community that you're in. I thought that Princeton would have a higher rate, but I've driven around the community and checked it out on trash and recycling day, and I was quite surprised. But that's hard to gauge because you got to take that number over a long period of time. Maybe somebody just like trash, maybe they put it out 10 times in a row, and then they don't put it out for a month because it's too cold outside. I mean, there's a variety of reasons on why they participate and why they don't, and that's part of the program that I'm introducing is that we are just going to provide the carts in a big cart compared to what I'm seeing when I drive around the neighborhood to increase the capacity for recycling. I'm seeing a lot of we're putting the carts out there for only the people that want to recycle because only the people that want to recycle are going to go through the trouble to call in, and they're also going to put better material in those carts, theoretically. So if we just dump off a bunch of recycling carts, spend a bunch of money to do so, also at a great cost, that takes the cost of I got to deliver 3,030 of those tomorrow, and then come back and collect 30 of them. It's 30 snowbirds in this town. Come back and get those carts, so no one's taking them. It's just our program. It encourages it, but it doesn't force it on anybody. And so that's tough because where do you get that participation rate? Is it just people that have the service, that call in and get the tote but never use it? Or is it to actually set it out and then how full do they put it? Was it a 10% full cart or was it a 100% full cart? Well, if they only put 10%, are they still a participant? That's a lot of gray area on even getting accurate numbers on that. Sure.
The 40 to 45% figure is taken from the city crew that goes around and picks the recycling materials up. And that's curbside only, but we are told that there are a lot of people that take recycling out to the transfer station and dump it out. So the actual number of people that recycle in the city is higher than 40-45%. We're just talking
curbside service. Okay, that makes sense. And then we won't have those numbers. We aren't privy to those, so that would be a contractual arrangement between Republic Services and the city on getting those numbers. So you could literally see by the ton on how that could grow or diminish over time. I don't have those. I would have those numbers if I was hauling it to my own facility, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't have that for this one.
what is your customer service number? Is it a local number, or what do they have to do to call in?
Okay, so I think I touched on that a little bit earlier, but in what we have set up now is you call in Illinois. Our corporate office was recently moved from Morgan Grove to Rosemont, and so we've got an in-house team where you'll call real people from Illinois. So as local as that needs to be for you're calling in the state. For now, we also have an email and a website that you can get onto. So if it's 10 o'clock at night and you want to notify somebody, we'll set up an email address and you email your pertinent information. And someone will call back and within the next day and work it out with you and get your services collected or add services, whatever you need to do. Eventually, when we grow big enough, and I can't necessarily put this in the proposal today, I may have this city breaking off of our Chicago division and creating our own division out here as we get larger. And we budget so much for our customer experience team. It used to be called customer service. It's rebranded as customer experience. We budget so much of that, and the more you don't want to get too big because then you're on hold forever. But you don't want to be too small because you got to be able to afford the staffing for it. So that's where we're at. I like to see us transition into more of a regional customer service or divisional customer service. But right now, our customer experience team consists of our Chicago crew. But we are in fact an Illinois-based company. It's not any other state. So does that answer that the best I can? So it's 188 dump or something or another. I can't memorize it. I'm sorry.
That's not enough number.
LRF
Is that it? Okay. And then there was something that wasn't brought up. It may be something that we took the city services out of the original proposal. It looks to me in your transfer agreement that may be something that Republic's required to service either way. So once again, if that is the fact, we don't want to interfere with that and keep that service. That is correct. Okay. I'm not an attorney. I just read a lot of it.
Anybody else? Questions? We got it covered.
Okay, just one more thing to touch on that implementation plan that's also outlined in the proposal. Then I dropped off that handout. Part of what that is, that's something that we're doing. That's not an approved version. That's a first draft for what we're doing for Monmouth here recently. We just won a contract over there. So part of what we agreed to and what we propose is that we have an implementation plan. And so we will, in fact, set up that meeting with the appropriate city leaders, and we will present what we are going to mail out and to get to really kick it off in the right direction. And we'll tweak that. And that exact one's not what you're going to get, but it's pretty close. And we'll say, Teresa, maybe we need to take this out, or we need to add that. Whatever other message the city wants to send, we're in partnership with you, and that's not a message that we're forcing out. This is something we work together on, so that way when we kick off the program, it goes well for everybody, and we all get less phone calls. And that's all I have. If there's anything that I missed, let me know. Appreciate your time.
We have your email and phone number, so anybody can follow up with them with any questions or concerns. So
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Great to meet everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so next up is Jim Posey with Republic Services.
Good evening, everybody. It's a nice night out. Getting ready for all the snow coming. Can everybody hear me? I'm a little bit shorter than Chuck, so I got to move it. Yeah, I think the green light's on. So, you all, thank you again for inviting me to come back and talk to you. You guys all have our proposal. You know what kind of partnership we have with the city of Princeton. We're not looking to sever ties anytime soon, obviously. So basically what I'm here to do is, much like what what you did with LRS and Chuck is just kind of address any concerns you guys have, answer any questions, and maybe clear some of the muddy water, I guess, that's in front of you, so you guys can make an informed decision on what direction you guys want to go into.
Jim, I'll ask you the same thing about employee shortages. How has your situation been through COVID, and have you ran into issues with?
The first, when COVID first came out, we really jumped on board and got everybody separated. We got everybody, don't come into the office type of thing. I'm still working from home. It's been 2 years since I've been still working from home. We made it through the first round, really good. This round, we are like every other company, we are experiencing some challenges. However, that has not left us to the point where we're leaving routes sitting.
Yeah.
We've got replacement drivers. The luxury of being a large company is we have access to a nationwide network of employees. We have something that's strictly called our Blue Crew. So if something in division, say somebody goes on strike, or somebody, a division goes down with COVID or something like that, we have these teams that can respond within 24 hours to basically take over. So we've got ample amount of drivers. So yeah, we've got people that are out due to COVID, or they're quarantined because of COVID, but we've got people other drivers that take their place. So we're not leaving.
And obviously that's why I asked that question, right, of both of you. It's just that, hey, we know the state of every industry right now and what's happening and the shortages of help, things like that. So I'm just curious how it's hitting you compared to others, and if it's affecting routes and things like that.
No. The only thing that it's affecting is if we have a replacement driver, he's unfamiliar with the route. It may take him a little bit longer. He may miss somebody. But as long as that resident or he either contacts you or contacts us directly, we're coming back. If we're still in town, we're going to get him same day. If not, we're going to get him within 24 hours.
Do you see us as picking up trash 5 days a week here in Princeton, or do you, like Chuck, maybe think you could scale it back to doing it in 4 days, or have you?
Yeah, we're looking at a 4-day program, and the more efficient we get, we could possibly do it in 3 days. It depends, because we've got guys that, once a community's carted and, where the truck does the majority of the work, we've got guys that are picking up, over 1,000 homes a day with these carts. The standard, the average is, roughly 750 to 800, 850, but we do have guys that, if the houses are closer together, in these new suburb communities and stuff like that are coming up, these guys are popping homes left and right. I mean, just, and they're able to get in and out. The older established communities like Princeton and things like that, where the houses are a little bit more apart, he's probably going to be, right around 800 homes. So we're thinking, 4 days. But, who knows? We could come back to the city and say, look, what's your idea? If we can do it in 3 days, are you on board with it? What kind of implementation plan can we go to get the residents out, residents notified, things like that. So, but it is a possibility.
Talk about customer service for us. I mean, as far as the call coming into your facility, wherever that may be, and how quickly you can respond to it. Because, as you can imagine, for us to let go of this service, we want to be sure, absolutely sure, that the community is going to get served well.
Right, and that's, and truly, you want us to handle it. You want to. The people down in the office, they've got other things that are more important that, other than answering calls about missed pickups and things like that. So I do have some good news for you. We have a large customer service. We have three sites in the country. They're set up for, so if somebody gets up, for basically throughout the whole day, because it's time changes, things like that. So somebody can contact us throughout the whole day. Now, the one gentleman we had last week had I don't know what his question was, because he called customer service and he didn't get the right the right answer, so then he called some. I don't know what his question was, so his question made me.
Commercial pickup.
Pardon?
He had a commercial pickup.
Okay, so basically what we're doing now, and he may have had an issue, but what we're not looking at is the bigger picture, where we have hundreds of people calling into to customer service on a daily basis, and they're getting taken care of, no issues. They're getting their call answered in the first call, things like that. So, but what we're doing is we're getting in this area, our customer service center is shrinking to a pod. Because our customer service reps are still not back in the building. They're never coming back.
Mm-hmm.
They're never coming back because they found that they're doing just as good a job, if not better, being at home than being in a building. The issues that you have with that are training and watching them and things like that. But they are doing a pretty decent job. They are doing a good job. So what these pods are going to be doing is basically getting closer to the communities, back where I think they should be, where they should have never left, to be honest with you. There's going to be 180 representatives handling this area. So if somebody from Princeton were to call, they're going to get somebody. I don't know where this is. They may get somebody in Indiana because that's where this person lives. I don't know. But that these 180 people are going to do nothing but handle calls from our area, up in this Midwest territory, the Chicagoland market is what I'm saying. So they're going to be a little bit more well versed on the contracts, able to handle people a little bit better than what they're doing now. Not that they're not getting handled good now, but so it's a move it's a step in the right direction. Plus, with our app, customers can download our app on their iPhone, their laptop, or iPad, whatever they're using these days, and contact us 24 hours, 7 days a week. Because all these kids, all they want to do is, younger generation just want to get everything done on their phone. So if they download our app, they can reach out to us in their pajamas if they want to. They don't even have to talk to anybody. They can schedule an extra pickup. They can schedule an additional cart. If they want a large dumpster for cleanup, garage cleanup, basement cleanup, things like that. Even if they were missed, they can let us know. And we do have the technology that it's been rolled out on the West Coast and slowly migrating across the country, that as long as you have an account with us, you'll be able to follow the truck. You'll be able to know where they're at. Right now we have a system called Connect that it pings the driver. Every so often it pings him. So we know where he's at. We know what streets he's gone down. We know his complete route. We have another system that's coming online third quarter of this year called our RISE platform. The drivers are going to have a laptop or a tablet in their truck, and every route's going to be downloaded. So they'll know where they're actually going. We'll be able to follow the truck even more, and we have better communications with our communities. So it's pretty. And what that is going to allow us to do is that if a driver's on vacation, a driver's sick, and another guy hops in the seat, he's going to be able to pull up any community, Princeton, Peru, Dover, Malden, whatever, and it's going to be there. So he'll be able to follow that route. So that's going to decrease the amount of mistakes that he makes in a day, things like that. So it's pretty cool. We've already got it for our large container, the roll-offs, and they're implementing it now for the small containers, the small container kind of businesses and things like that. So far, it's been working out. The drivers love it. We're seeing a lot less issues on the streets. So, guys like me are like, why are we last? Why are we last? Why couldn't we be the first? Why couldn't we be the guinea pigs on this? But so, third quarter we have that system coming out, and we're all looking forward to it. So
So just a follow-up on the customer service call, Jim, is, let's say that the call comes in for a missed pickup and it goes to that person in Indiana who's working from home very efficiently and so forth. How does he or she get my problem conveyed to the right person to fix it?
Well, what we do is when we have a community, we have a contract, all the addresses, and that's why it's important, you know, when you contract with us, why I say I need an updated address list with the phone numbers. So what we do is we upload all those addresses into our system. So that way, when that customer calls at 415 Elm Street, customer service rep can pull up that account and say, oh, you were missed? Okay, fine, no problem. They'll enter a note on that account, which then is transferred to automatically goes to our dispatch center. So that pops up on their screen so they know what's going on.
Is it the dispatch center at your transfer station?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, Susan and Don.
Okay.
Yep. So.
About missed pickups. So again, everybody has the issue with missed pickups regardless of who's doing the work. So, same question, how are your routes established? How do you, you know, sometimes there could be like an entire street that's missed. Why does that happen, I guess, is my...
The most frequent times that it happen, I guess, is when a driver breaks off the route, goes to dump, and comes back and forgets that where he's at. You know, I can't say that that's a bad excuse, because I've gotten up off the chair and walked into the kitchen and said, why am I standing here? You know, so that's when most times that happens, is when he leaves the route to go to dump and he comes back and he thinks he's starting where he left off, and he doesn't. You know, most cases, what we experience is when calls come up and say, hey, our entire street or our entire side was missed, is they're not familiar with how we run our routes. You know, both the trucks have dual side drives, so he's on the right side, and basically what he does is, you know, we want him making right turns. We don't want him turning left from the passenger side. So they'll do a series of right turns, and then they'll come back and they'll do the same thing on the other side of the street. So that's when we get a lot of calls, is like, the neighbors, I can see it down the block. All my neighbors across the street are picked up, and nobody here is picked up. That's why. He's coming, you know, he may do one side, like you know, I live in Peru. The south side of the street, Juan does at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and then he'll get my house at about 11:30. So it just takes him that much time to come back and do it, but it gets picked up.
You have a lot of, as far as turnover on drivers. You have you know, like turnover. You have situations where...
No, we have all of our drivers are union. They're paid very good. We give them $375,000 trucks to drive around in every day. We give them all the clothes they need, all the boots, you know, all the gear for winter, the high vis, things like that. So no, and we've got a 401k benefit. They get full bennies, you know, full medical benefits. So it's. I think we're rated one of the top 50 places to work. You know, so I mean, it's a very, very good company. And in this area, you know, I mean, I handle 2 business units and 4 divisions, and we have very little turnover. You know, I handle the Joliet division, the Ottawa division, Pontiac division, Princeton division, and Dixon division. So I think that's 5, isn't it? So and very little turnover. The guys are, like I said, they're paid well. Drivers, you know, sometimes I'm jealous of them because they're treated like gold. They really are, because we value our employees. We know the value of a driver. If he leaves, he takes all that route experience with him, you know, and it may be tough to fill that chair. So we try to treat them as good as possible and keep them as long as we can. Unfortunately, they retire, but you know.
Recycling on Curbside. So on your proposal, I'm going to ask the same question that I asked of Chuck. Is this are you those that want curbside recycling, that specifically want curbside recycling, are you billing them? First of all, you're gonna bill them. That'll be between you and the customer.
Correct.
The city won't have anything to do with this.
Correct.
So you're gonna contract directly with people, residents who want curbside recycling.
Correct.
And those are the only ones that are going to have to pay for the curbside recycling. It won't be a global fee attached to anything that we put on our utility bill.
Correct.
We're going to be collecting the garbage fee on our utility bill. As far as curbside recycling, that's totally between you and the.
Yeah, and we did give you the three options, you know, and right now, you know, we're here till at least 2047. You know, we own the transfer station. We're not going anywhere. We have no plans to go anywhere. So we want to partner with. We would love to partner. You know, I couldn't get the corporation to say, yeah, let's put out a, you know, a 30-year, a 20-something year coverage contract. I couldn't get them to do that. You know, so we're planning on being here. You know, Princeton is unique in the fact that there's a transfer station right here inside city limits. You know, so the residents can bring it out anytime they want, and it's free as long as they show ID. You know, so those residents that want it at the curb, you know, we'll just contract separately with them. We'll pick it up and then bring it back to our facility.
And you'll bill them directly.
Bill them directly, so you
Quarterly
don't have to
or
worry about it.
whatever.
Yeah, so with that option, you know, I mean, you're satisfying all three, you know, levels of your constituents. You know, those that don't want to recycle, all they want to do is trash only. Those that want to recycle but don't want to pay for it, they can still bring it to the transfer station. It's a 5-minute drive, and it's free. Or those that don't want the convenient, you know, they want the convenient of it at curbside, then they're the only ones that are getting billed for it, not the rest of the community. So you're really checking all three boxes.
And you'd be flexible enough to offer the recycling only billing on quarterly or annual basis if you offer people
Yeah, we would bill
a
them.
one-time annual payment and your recycling is completely.
Yeah, we would send out a quarterly bill, but if they wanted to pay it 12 months in advance, you know, they can do that.
So your proposal, you have a trash-only rate, and then you have a trash and recycling rate in the event that the city wants to go that route. And that would be collected by the city, and we would, the trash and recycling rate would be both. That would all be collected by the city on our utility bill.
Right.
Or you can have trash only, and then the separate curbside where you deal directly with the public.
Correct.
This is kind of a little bit different question regarding the recycling the transfer station. There's many people that I talk to, they say that the hours are not convenient enough for them because some of us still have to work. Now we're retired. Along with that, I know this is Saturday, but it's very minimal. Personally, I went there once, and I was just like barely there. I got there, and all they did was look at me and go. They didn't say, well, sorry, we're closed. They just kind of looked, and they just walked away.
Well, your picture's on the city website, isn't it? So they know who you are, don't they, Hector?
They know who I am, but they still did it.
Well,
is there any change? Is there anything as far as within future plans that they're going to increase the hours for those that want to recycle but don't want to pay an extra fee regardless of where it goes, to include on a Saturday?
Yeah.
For them to do so.
Yeah, Joel and I have talked about that, and plus I just got off the phone with Kevin before I came here, and we're already talking about maybe on a Saturday setting a recycling container outside the fence, so that way residents can access it, you know, throughout the weekend. The only issue with that is if it does start to get a high level of contamination, you know, then we would have to approach the city and say, look, we've tried it, you know, here's what we've done, what can we do to correct it? Because there's going to be signage, you know, all over the place that says, you know, what can be recycled, what can't be recycled. You know, sometimes when you have an open container like that, you know, where people can access it, you're going to find, you know, you guys know, you know, from the past drop-off center, you know. So, but we've already talked about doing that, so that way the residents, because like you had said, not everybody's retired.
No.
You know, So yeah, so we're looking to move a container outside for the weekend, so those residents can easily access it. Yeah.
You know, the thing about recycling, in my opinion, is that quality supersedes quantity. I mean, you could have everybody in town doing curbside recycling, but how much of that's going to go to the landfill? A lot of people get angry when they see our guys out and they'll pick up a recycling bin and throw it in the garbage. Well, the reason why that's being done is because there's a staying pizza box in there, or there's garbage in there, and it's contaminated. You know, it's not going to be going to the recycling center. So whatever we can do to increase the quality of recycling, that's the important thing. You know, you want to be able to recycle 100% of what you're picking up.
Yeah, and you know, with us, you know, and I know I've given you guys the information before to link our website to the city's website. You know, recyclingsimplified.com is our website that you can link as well, so residents can access it. So there's, you know, especially around the holidays, they've got all kinds of real cool videos on, you know, what's recycled, the wrapping paper. You know, wrapping paper is always big. Can I recycle this or can I not? So there's some good videos on that. Also empty, clean, and dry. You know, remember when recycling first came out and all this single stream stuff comes. If you can remember correctly, of all the people going, well, I do it right because I put it in the dishwasher, I peel all the labels off, I make sure it's all dry. You look at those people and you're like, man, you're nuts. That's crazy. But now, because and it basically really hit home when the China sword basically fell. You know, when China stopped taking the material, man, those people had it right from the beginning. Why weren't we listening to them from day one? You know, because empty, clean, and dry is what we preach religiously now. And it's on recyclingsimplified.com. All of the carts that are going to be delivered to those people that recycle will have a hot stamp on them that states what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Upon delivery, there'll also be a calendar of, you know, and I know I've given you guys some literature on the brochures and things like that, the postcards that we would mail out to all the customers. But there'd be a flyer attached, a cart brochure attached have a calendar on it when we're going to pick up the recycling. And it's also going to have a little bit more of a detail of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So we're going to educate the customers. We're going to educate the residents until they can't take any more education. Because we want the material to be clean. And I think, you know, what we're finding out, and I think Joel will attest to this, is that those people that are bringing the material to our facility are the true recyclers. The material is empty, clean, and pretty much dry. You know, and those people that are that want the convenience of having it curbside, you know, there's studies been done that for that convenience and those true hardcore recyclers, they're willing to pay for it because they see the importance of it. They see that this is the future. So they're willing to pay for that extra convenience. And then again, by doing it that way, you're getting those residents that are going to put the prime recyclables in that container. So it's a win. It's really a win-win.
And that's that's the important factor that you mentioned, is that curbside recycling is a convenience. As I mentioned before, recycling has always been free in the city of Princeton since day one. You take it out and you drop it off, regardless of where the drop-off center was. But when the city offered the convenience of curbside recycling, you know, we're sending trucks out, and it's whether the city continues with this service or we go private. You know, there's trucks going around Princeton, and it'll be every other week, by the way, regardless of what happens. It'll be every other week recycling pickup. But you're sending a truck around the entire city a second time. You know, you have the cost of labor, you got the cost of fuel, you got the maintenance of the truck, the tires, everything is factored into the convenience of going around and doing the curbside pickup. So it's not free. It's very costly, and there's a fee associated with that, regardless of which way we go. So people need to understand that, because it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and that's not going to change. You know, your residents are still going to be able to recycle for free. You know, I mean, when you look at the big picture, you know, we are the city's one-stop shop, and we have an agreement, you know, with the transfer station till 2047. We're local, our trucks are right here, our drivers that will pick up in Princeton live in town. We've got several employees, including my daughter and son-in-law, who's one of our drivers, lives right here in Princeton. So the chances of a weather delay, granted, if we get 24 inches of snow, I don't think anybody's moving. But, the chances of services being delayed because of weather are greatly reduced, because I've got guys in town that go right out. As long as you guys do a good job of plowing the roads, we'll be able to get out there and get the trucks and get them into town. So the chances of a weather delay by us being, a local company here, employing local people, paying taxes in the community, goes a long way. And I know you guys are concerned with, the length of the contracts, and that was one of the concerns. We're basing ours on a 10-year contract, and we're in discussions, 8 to 12 months prior to that contract expiring to get a feel for what we want to do. And like I said, we've already made a commitment to the city of Princeton until 2047. We're not going anywhere. So at the end of this 10-year contract, you can pretty much feel confident that we're going to come to you guys and want to extend that contract. So, because like I said, we don't have any plans of going anywhere. We can do pretty much everything for you.
What's your take on the future of recycling in the global here in the United States, or what's your take on it?
Recycling is the future. Don't let anybody tell you different. Even though China doesn't take it anymore, what happened with China opened our eyes. Because what happened was when China wasn't taking it, and all of our material, all of the material that Republic Services picks up, stays in the United States. Doesn't get shipped off over, doesn't get shipped anywhere. Okay? So what happened when China stopped taking the material, all the local markets, or all the nation, American markets, got flooded with material. Because everybody was still bringing it in, but they couldn't get rid of it. So now that is basically passing. So we're starting to see some returns for the material back. Those American manufacturing facilities, stepped up their productions. They hired more people. They put more money back into their plants to be able to keep up with this. So I'm proud to say that Republic's material stays in the United States, doesn't go anywhere, and it hasn't. And recycling, where people are looking to get out of the recycling, we're jumping in. We're buying recycling facilities to gear them up so we can start taking our material like we do with our landfills and transfer stations. We can keep it in-house so we can control our costs, which keeps our costs down, which keeps our charges down to our customers. So yeah, we're neck deep in this recycling pond, and we're not going anywhere.
Thanks. Anybody else? We're good. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, we have a great partnership with the city. We want to strengthen it. We want to continue it, and hope you guys see the benefit in having us take care of your residents. So we promise you it'll be a good customer experience for them. And the thing is, I'll be your contact. Our drivers, they live in town. You're going to see them. Our employees, you're going to see them. Our drivers are either going to stop in here before they leave town every day and say, hey, did I miss anything? Did you get any calls? Anything like that? If they don't, our dispatcher is going to call in and say, hey, did you guys get any calls? Either way, before we stop for the day, we're going to touch base with the city and find out if there's anything we missed, if there's something you guys need. We're going to take care of it before we leave. As far as festivals, we're going to provide you with service, service for the Homestead Festival, and I know we provide stuff for the downtown concerts. If there's any other sponsorship opportunities that we can help out with, all you got to do is call me. On a phone call, an email, text message. That's how close I am. So.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay?
So, we don't have anything on the agenda for any kind of public comment, but are you guys okay? If anybody has any questions? Are you okay answering any questions from the public?
Well, this may be more for you guys.
You just need to come up, state your name. For the record.
Stephanie, Van Strand. For those of us who are not privy to the proposals, is there a reason that everyone has very studiously tried to avoid giving an idea of the cost differential between the with recycling, without recycling, or any of that? Can you have those?
Well,
as a range?
we do, but I would prefer that come from, if they want to present those, it's up to the, we really didn't discuss that prior. I don't know if you want to disclose, because again, you got,
Two competing
competitors.
Well, and actually, and I'm not so much interested in that as the one, well, it's really hard for Chuck because yours is compounded. Do you mind saying what the cost is for straight garbage and the one, or with recycling, what the difference is between the two for the city per person?
Well, I mean, you put me in a tough spot because my competition's here.
I'm saying, okay, let's just say what's the difference between having everyone pick up, is it $2? Is it $3? Is it $10?
If I can remember.
You'd have to come up,
correctly.
Jim, and speak in the microphone,
Oh,
so it's,
sorry.
this is being
Sorry.
live streamed, by the way, so.
If I remember correctly, I think it's between, I thought it was like $1.50 or something like that, between the individual subscription price and the everybody, and the difference between everybody gets billed. I think it's like $1, or is it even that?
Well, I can,
It's like $2 or something like that. I've got it.
Okay.
yeah, I don't
But
want to.
enough.
Yeah, it's not
We don't know
a.
if it's $50, we don't
No.
know. $5,
There's
we don't
there's
know.
a small difference between the individual subscription. Like if you were to pay for it and then everybody else pays for it as well, it's a couple bucks.
Okay, so if you're negotiating with us.
Stephanie, you gotta come to it, just so people off live stream can.
We're on camera?
They don't want to hear me.
Oh.
So the question is then, do we negotiate rates with you separately, quarterly? Do you do it based on how many households join in? Do you do it based on, what sun is rising on Friday? How exactly do those costs then get determined if we have to go to individual? And your reasoning is, there's pros and cons on both ways.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious how that process works.
It's based on. It is based on customer participation. I think we've got an average of 45 to 50%, right around 45%. So yeah, the prices are based on participation, and then then there's an annual, the cost goes up every year. It would follow what the price would to the city would go, but that's what it's based on, participation. So the more people you get on board, the less it would be, and the less people you get on board, the price may have to be adjusted, because like what Joel said, you're still running the entire community, so your costs are still the same. Your driver's still out there the same amount of hours because he's running up and down every street. But instead of picking up 3,000 homes, now he's only picking up maybe 600. But those 600 aren't going to be all on the southeast side of town. They're going to be scattered throughout the whole community.
It's more inefficient.
Yes.
It's more inefficient.
Yes, and you're drawing from less of a customer base, the customer dollar base, I guess. So.
Okay. So, and then one last philosophical question: since the council decided to put you guys into the hot seat, in 10 years, what's going to be more expensive, recycling or picking up garbage and disposing of it?
Good question.
I mean, this is it. I appreciate you both are saying recycling is something that we need to do more of better. But
Well-
the question is what's going to be, what are we looking at?
Well, if things stay, if things move in the direction that we hope they're moving, and I think education is key, because the more we educate the residents, the cleaner the stream's going to be, and the more money it's going to be worth. Okay? So your costs are still going to be, to pick up trash and to pick up recycling, still going to basically be the same, because you've got the same trucks, the same guys, things like that. However, if you know, landfill space is decreasing, okay? So your landfill costs are probably going to are going to go up. If your recycling stream is clean, you're still going to pay a recycling processing charge. However, if the material is worth that much more, that's going to be money back towards the hauler, which is going to ultimately offset the costs that we quote to our villages and to our residents. So, the way I see the cost structure of the garbage going up more than it does with the recycling, because we're in that process now of really educating the residents. You know, and I think Joel said it before. You know, that pizza box, that soiled pizza box. How many people have thrown a soiled pizza box in their recycling? I did until I was told to say, no, you can't, because it's full of grease and cheese. They can't extract that grease and cheese out of the cardboard, so it's garbage. So, you know, I learned it, and recycling, the way that it was based before was on weight. You know, they based the recycling on weight. Well, of what you put in a recycling bin, what weighs the most? Glass. And it's worth nothing, you know. So now what they're basically doing is they're changing their way of thinking. It's like, okay, we can't base this on weight anymore. We have to base it on the good stuff and the volume of the good stuff that we're getting. And the cleaner it is, the more it's worth. You know, so I mean, this whole re-education, and that's why, you know, I said earlier, you know, those residents that are going to recycle, they're going to know what's going to be acceptable and not acceptable, because we're going to give them, you know, other than stamping it on their forehead, I guess, we're going to give them all the information that they need so they can be responsible recyclers. Because we would love nothing else but to have Princeton up to, you know, like our other communities, 80, 85, 90%. You know, just because you can, the word participation rate is kind of skewed, I guess. Because if everybody in town gets a recycling cart, guess what? You got a 100% participation rate. But out of that 100%, how many are truly recycling? You know, so that's the thing. You know, so that's where the numbers, the nuts and bolts, the numbers really come up. Is okay, you've got 100% participation rate because everybody's got a cart. But out of those 3,050 homes, whatever, how many of those people are actually truly recycling? That's the hard number to find.
I think if you give everybody in Princeton a cart for a 95-gallon cart for trash and a 65-gallon cart for recycling, there's a lot of people that aren't going to recycle. But if they fill up that 95-gallon with trash and they have more trash, you're going to see them being putting trash in the recycling and covering it with recycling material just to pass it by. I mean, it happens. It happens now. So it's.
So how do you guys?
Mike,
I'm sorry, Chuck.
I just addressed the. What was the first question? Could you repeat that for me so I make sure I answered it correctly? I apologize.
Take it there.
Okay.
It was a question of what we're looking at in 10 years as far as.
That's the second question. The first question was the price difference.
Oh, the price difference.
So with the original program that we introduced to the council, that was for everybody to have the option to recycle. Instead of charging fewer people a whole lot more, it's just the economics of it, we're going to charge everybody a little bit more in order to have the service available. And we initially programmed that in with a once-a-week service. And if the city elects to have once a month or every other week or whatever, we can make some adjustments to what we had offered. We can explore the option of a subscription-based service. It's just not something that we were asked for, so we didn't throw it out there. We didn't want to complicate things. So the straight answer for that is there's several dollars difference, and if we're not discussing pricing in the open at this point, then I can't divulge that either. As far as what's going to be cheaper, I don't want to say cheaper, less costly in the long run. The way my proposal is structured, just by the numbers, recycling will still be less expensive. Just by the way the proposal is structured by the numbers. So yeah, and then everything that our competitor over here said, as far as the clean material and all that, is just pretty well common sense. The cleaner it is, the more valuable it is, the better of a commodity it is across the globe or in the United States. So I do have a kind of a question with that is whenever we propose our services for trash and recycling, we proposed our number that just includes hauling, and I'm curious to know if our competitor did the same thing or if there's going to be an additional disposal bill on top of that price. And so maybe that's something that we should also clear up.
It's my understanding it's the same as yours. It's just you can clarify if I'm wrong on this, Jim, but I'm assuming that the figures that you have here are strictly what you're billing residents for, but billing the city for, but there's no change as far as what,
No.
because the contract terms are as they are.
Yeah.
As far as the transfer station, right?
Yeah, no, there's no, that's what I quoted you is what we would charge the city per resident.
Right.
Yeah, there's not going to be no additional.
In the terms of the transfer station contract on the cell, that all stays, that's all in place, that doesn't change.
Yep, that's good until 2047. So like I said, we have no plans on going anywhere. So just try to kick us out.
Is that what you're looking for?
So essentially, there's going to be both companies will provide
Sorry.
Both companies will provide a price, and that'll be X amount per home per cart, let's say. And then so as LRS and Republic, LRS offers a number, and that is for hauling services, but the city will still be responsible for paying the disposal bill for the waste services, and if there are any recycling charges down the road for the recycling charges. Now, is Republic offering you a price for hauling services and then also still charging you a fee for the disposal services? And that's just what I'd like to clear up to make sure that those numbers are apples to apples.
Yeah, they are, because
okay.
That's your understanding, that's fine. I mean, as far as the contract terms, I think it started out with the contract that we were going to be charged $23 a ton for everything that was taken out there from the city standpoint. Mm-hmm. And then our host fee it started out at $3.50 a ton, and that included waste that was taken out there by all communities that take waste out there. So we never were billed anything. We never are billed anything from the Republic. They just take the figure that we are billed for, or they take the figure of all the communities together, the host fee portion, and they deduct from that what our contribution is on a monthly basis, and then we end up getting revenue every month for that.
But what you're asking is if there's another host fee on top of this.
Not a host fee. So there's the cost for, let's call it apples to apples here. Let's just call it $15 to haul trash. If Republic Services offers a $15 cost to you, now at that point, is it $15 plus the city's still paying a disposal fee at the transfer station and collecting $3.50 and change back for the host fee, or are they offering you $12, $13, $14, $15, $16, or are they offering you an amount and then amending the current contract? Does that make sense?
Well, it's a little confusing.
Okay, sorry. So we're going to be, there's going to be two charges essentially for the program that I'm offering. That is let's say $15 $10, $12, whatever it is, for trash. Now, at that point in time, you're still going to be responsible for paying everything that we drop off to the transfer station. Now, at that point, that's our program. Is Republic offering a price per unit, and then the city still has a disposal bill, or are they amending the contract to where it's one price that covers the disposal also? That's my question. To clear up, so that's all.
Yeah, no, I get
I
you.
was trying to get all that down straight.
Yeah. Food for thought. Food for thought, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So can I jump in
Yeah,
one more
sure,
time?
you bet.
Since the questions were answered, I'm just going to say what I believe is going to happen for you guys when you're discussing this. Looking at the neighborhoods, looking at the families with kids and everything else, and the recycling obviously is important to me. Not hard for me to go out, although from past experience, I can only say an unwatched recycling area is not necessarily the best idea sometimes. So from experience in the city, we know that doesn't always work out as planned. But looking at the parents that have soccer games on Saturdays and games after and everything else, there is no way that they really are going to be able to participate, which means that there's going to be fewer people doing recycling, so that those who are contracting separately are going to be charged more because it is going to decrease. So the question you have to decide is how to compromise between those 2 points, quantity, quality, whatever you have, but it should be something that's fair and encourages people to recycle at some point, and yes, do it correctly, which is still a learning curve for, certainly I'm going to say most of us. I mean, I was in school with some of you, so I know we're of a similar age for our generation and older, because they're not used to it. For the younger kids coming up, it's all they've ever known. So it is a transition thing. But we need to figure out something that makes it fair and equitable for people that are not able to get to the transfer station easily, that use the curbside for all the right reasons, that they're not penalized financially for things that are outside of their control. I mean, if they're trying to do the right thing, then we should figure something out to make that work. Either way, if it's a surcharge, fine. If it's not an onerous surcharge, fine. If you are on some sort of housing or disability or something, maybe it could be subsidized. But we do need to figure out something that does not punish people for recycling. And if we get down to 20-25% after curbside goes, I don't know if it's going to be quality, but I don't know how long that's sustainable. And certainly we're going to lose all of the ground that we've gained.
Stephanie, what do you think, what surcharge would feel good to you? Knowing that it just costs more to do it, what would you say? I'm okay with this fee.
I can only speak for us. For convenience and stuff, I've gone through and tried to find online Republic's fee scale, which goes through, and it's got it nicely sorted out to when the recyclables bring this amount, then it's this. When they get more, then it goes down to this. And the range was like $3 to $5 a month, which is, I don't know, somebody said it was posted $11.50. $10 to $11 a month is starting to get.
But $3 to $5 is reasonable.
It's sure. Is our garbage bill going to go down by $3 to $5?
No.
And I said that last week. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
I know. It is going to go up, and it's going to continue to go up because the nature of garbage. Which again, our goal is to try and get as much out of that waste stream within the community as possible. Really, that's what we all like to see done. But, I can't speak, again, at this point, our kids are grown. It's just Tony and I. It's fine. But for a family with 2, 3 kids, with school, everything else going on, I don't know what's bearable for the community. But I just know that 3 to 5 was a much better range than I thought it might be. I was afraid it was going to be, starting $10, $15 a month.
Right.
And then that starts taking a chunk out of everybody's.
Sure.
So
I
anyway,
agree with that.
thank you for the special meeting and thanks for listening.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? State your name.
You know who I am. Dennis Alma. My question is to you. I have one of your drivers lives in my neighborhood, and I was talking to his wife one day, and I don't know, recycling and trash got brought up, and they said, "Oh no, we quit." He said everything's getting sent to the landfill anyway, so we just quit. We just throw everything in the trash.
That's not true.
Well, I was hoping that it wasn't true, but this is one of your own drivers.
I would like to.
Yeah, you got to come up.
Yeah.
So people can hear at home.
First off, that's not true, and I certainly would like to know who that driver is so we could write him, put him in the right direction, and you're more than welcome. Anybody is. If they want to follow the truck out to Scott County, see where we dump the recycling, you're more than welcome to do so. And for those residents that live, towards the east, we take our recycling to a waste management facility. So it all gets recycled. The misconception may be, or if there's a contaminated, pizza box, or there's some, dirty diapers or things like that in there, then that has a tendency to possibly be, thrown in the trash. But as far as our recycling, no, and that combining the recycling with the trash goes against our company policy, our absolutes and standards. So when we find out that if a driver if somebody calls up and says, "Hey, we just saw your driver throw recycling in with the trash," we want to know who that is, so that way when he pulls into the yard, he's getting a stern talking to. This isn't acceptable. So you take it from me that the material is getting recycled, and I'm more than happy to take you to the facility and watch and see what exactly goes on. And that's something too. We were talking as far as getting the community on board, and I don't know your name. I'm sorry, Stephanie. As far as getting more people on board with recycling, because that's the goal. We would love to have everybody recycle. We were talking. What might be a good thing to do is have an open house at the transfer station. Getting more people from the community to come out there and actually see the operations, and talk to actual, public employees that live here in town that operate the transfer station, things like that. It's more of that ongoing recycling or your ongoing education that's going to get more people to recycle, and to get them to be better recyclers. So we're seriously discussing having an open house out there at the transfer station to allow residents to come out and enjoy some. We usually grill steaks and stuff like that.
I'll be there.
Yeah. We don't have alcoholic beverages. We have beverages.
And this is strictly for the education of the public, because I think it would be important. It doesn't have anything to do with who we go with here or what we do. It has to do with recycling and what happens to it when it gets out to the recycling center or to the transfer station. So I think it's a great idea, and I think regardless of what happens, that will occur. So.
You still see that going around on. Well, Princeton has Let's Talk Princeton, Let's Really Talk Princeton, and Let's Talk Princeton Uncensored, and all like this. That still goes around on there. It's just all going to the landfill anyway. But I'd give you his name if you could guarantee me he wasn't going to get fired or anything.
Just give me his.
You can have that conversation later.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Take Jim's card if he can.
I have another about the about the containers, you said it was gonna go to or every other week.
Recycling, right.
Well, I have a 45-gallon container that I fill up every week.
You
Now,
can get
what
a
am I gonna
95
do?
You can get a 95-gallon for recycling as well, for this garbage, so. They have 95, 65, or 35.
95, my God.
That should carry it.
I hope it's not gonna be this, I hope it's gonna be white.
It's on wheels.
I guess a 95 would work, since I'm filling up a 45 every week.
Yep.
I'm big on recycling.
Good.
Needs to be done. And I don't want to see it go and at all. So as far as curbside, now does that mean that it's going to go to the street? Is everything going to go to the street with a one-armed truck?
That's still up for discussion.
Because you're not going to be able to have room to operate in those narrow alleys. You're going to have to go to the street.
Yeah, it's still for discussion, and those trucks, from what we understand from both, alley should not be a problem. But we're thinking about also moving everybody to the street. I think that's a discussion that we're having.
I know that's where recycling started out at, was in the street, because we had that big truck that pick everything up and put it in individual compartments.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
No.
Thanks.
Sherry Partners. I just have a question probably for both of you fellows. We haven't talked about picking up big items. I think that's part of the garbage discussion, and I thought the last meeting possibly was going to be one more year of statewide cleanup, but I just kind of wondered after that if this was going to be included or...
Excuse me. We're going to have our city proposal after this, if you want to, but you can, just to let you know, I didn't want you to leave thinking that this was it. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. There is you're talking about spring cleanup.
And I was also wondering if we were just going to have one more of those that was discussed last time, if both of these companies are going to help us with that.
I answer that. So the answer to that is we are flexible, but it is from our understanding we're trying to make the community collections safer and cut down on some of the waste that's just sitting out on the curb for days in on out. So what we've proposed, what we've outlined thus far, is that any individual customer has an option to give us a call at any time. We're a complete environmental services company, and we can come and do a separate contract for any individual customer at an agreed upon price, which will be fair market price. Now, for the more general question, what you're asking, are we going to do the town cleanup? And what we've proposed is...
Hey, Dennis? Oh, can you wait until after the meeting? Thank you.
I didn't think I was talking that loud.
Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
Thanks, no problem. Well, it's full of meeting, right? So to answer that, we can contract individually. If let's say that you need to move out, or for whatever reason you got 7 couches you need to get taken care of. Now, what we propose to keep the waste to really not do so much all at one time, and to kind of ease staffing also, is propose a bulk collection day, and that's still up for negotiation with the city and with the residents, really truly want. But we have had some success in the past where we allow each individual each individual resident to place out a bulk, one single bulk item, so it doesn't overload the driver, on, let's say, hypothetically, the third week of the month on your trash day. So you put that out with your trash. And that gives the city the ability to say, Mr. 1502 Main Street, why have you had 3 couches sitting out for the last 3 weeks? It's not what we want. It's not how we want our community to look. And it gives some enforcement capabilities if it ever go that direction on keeping the community clean. So that's what we propose, but we're flexible. Town cleanup's not or a fall fest, whatever the name of it is. We're we're not opposed to it, but we did propose an option to do a single bulky item, and then at any given time you could always schedule an additional one for some nominal charge. I have it listed in the proposal. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question, so I
Yeah.
apologize.
I was just referring to if you had considered the like citywide cleanup or putting out large items now and then, how would you work that into your proposal?
I believe our proposal already includes a bulk item per week, so residents can set out one household type bulk item per week if they want to. So that'll either be picked up with a regular truck, or if the driver can't handle it himself, he will call and the supervisor will come out and help him load that truck, things like that. So we'll get it off the street within 24 hours. So residents will be allowed to set out one household type bulky item each week if they so desire.
Thank you. And I have one more question. This is just my own wanting to know this knowledge. When things are recycled, does somebody actually sit there and go through everything hand by hand and see if it's dirty and tosses it in the garbage if it is, or how really is that going, and is a fair share of your personnel, is that their job, besides picking up garbage, sorting through recycle?
I will have to refer to Republic for this particular instance in your community because the recyclables will, in fact, be mandated to go to their transfer facility. But if this is another community, we were taking care of it from the customers' curbside to our facility. We actually have one of the state-of-the-art facilities in the Chicagoland area, and it's very complex, and it's hard to give a good description of it, but it's got a lot of sensors, and it blows air in all kinds of funny ways, and they can basically calibrate the machines to know what type of materials are what by how much they weigh, and then and obviously the optical sorting goes along with it, and yes, that requires some additional staffing. So very complex question, and that changes region by region. And so what one facility is capable of doing on the east or the west coast isn't necessarily what a facility here in the Midwest could do. And then some of the smaller facilities in the surrounding areas may operate in a slightly different fashion as well. So I have to refer to him to answer directly for this community.
What currently happens right now is the city of Princeton, I believe, comes across the scale and dumps the truck in a separate building, and so all of our recyclables right now, is separate from the trash. So they dump it in another building, and then we scoop it up, and then we put it into a larger semi-trailer, and then that gets sent out to the recycling facility. So, and I think Stephanie, there she is. When I gave the talk out at the library, I showed you guys about some recycling facilities and things like that. What happens is when the truck gets to the recycling facility, they'll dump it, and then you've got, like, what a bobcat is?
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got bobcats and other tools that they maneuver the piles to, and at the recycling facilities they have, it all goes into a big conveyor belt. And from there it's dropped down into like a water sorter, air sorter, magnets, things like that, which separates everything. So the heavier products like the garbage and things like that, that'll get separated, and at the end of the line, you do have those pickers that are going through to finally pick out all the contaminants that weren't gotten automatically. Those are sent to the garbage, and then the recyclables are all separated into plastics, cardboard, paper, things like that. They're baled, and then they're sent to market. So that's how the recycling facilities operate. But everything here from Princeton and that we gather from other communities goes into a separate building, and then we load it, and it goes out to a recycling facility in Scott County.
So that's how you make extra money then, is by selling the recyclables that you've worked with, and you sell those products to buy your equipment and your trucks and such. Is that right?
The way the recycling works is, you still get charged to get rid of it.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say it's, $80 a ton to get rid of it, but the material is worth $90 a ton. So you get that money back, which goes to help offset the cost of actually providing that service. So that's why when you're looking at, if you look at a proposal and you've got trash at $15 and you've got recycling at $4, that money that you get back helps to offset that remaining cost. That's why the recycling is lower, because you're getting money back for the material.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Just need your name.
Yes, thank you.
Councilman
Over that before. I'm Susie Bishop, and my questions are, you said it was going to be like $2 more. Is that $2 per week, or is it $2 per pound, or what?
No, it's based on what Stephanie was asking, what the price difference is between if we charge everybody for recycling or if we charge you individually for it. The difference is it would be $2 per month. So it's just, so if it's, $8 for everybody to recycle, it might be $10 for you to recycle. Now those are just numbers that I'm pulling out of the sky because we're not sharing any numbers. But it's like a couple bucks difference. And that's per month. Yeah, so it's not like $2 one month, $5 next month, $6 and it's roughly $2, something like that.
Well, okay. Are the leaf bags in the tree branches, is that the city doing separately?
Yeah, we're going to continue with the brush pickup once a week.
He talked about dry recyclable stuff. What about when it rains on it? That's not dry.
These totes will have lids. They'll have lids. These totes will have lids on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to be able to vote on this? Or is the city saying we're good, whatever?
Well, the city will make the decision as far
Okay,
as
so
what
we
direction.
can't vote on it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
Yeah.
I think whatever direction, you want to go, I know you're valuing the residents' input. We've talked about this as far as getting the word out to residents. Maybe it's something that prior to doing this, in what direction you want to, send out something, to the residents, in regards to recycling. Because you may be carrying it on live TV and you've got a handful here, but there's going to be a lot of people that don't, aren't listening or watching or whatever. So maybe something would, prior to your decision, getting something out to the residents as far as, a postcard or just an informational, a ballot, a checkbox or something. What would you prefer type of deal. This way we get some valuable information back, provide it to us, so then we could also provide you with some information based on your findings. This way the residents would get kind of a vote. Because if you get back out of 3,000 people, if you get back 1,900, 2,000 people that say, hey, we want curbside recycling, well then you've maybe tackled your decision, or at least helped us with our numbers, saying, okay, based on the feedback we've got, out of the roughly 3,000 homes, we have commitments from 2,000 of them that are going to recycle. If we just do the subscription plan, obviously if we're pulling from a larger base, then that cost will be a little bit cheaper. But at least you're getting a vote. You're getting input.
And it was pretty stinky that we can't vote on it.
You did vote on it. We're all up here. You voted for us to be on city council.
That's why these people are up here. That's why these people are up here to make the decision.
And there's going to be curbside recycling. Regardless of what direction we go, there will be curbside recycling. So.
And that was another question. Yes, my garbage is put out by the alley. So does that mean I'm going to have to haul it out by the street then instead?
We don't know yet. That's still under discussion. Anybody else? Okay, so the city is also considering keeping this in-house. And I just wanted, before I turn this over to Teresa, I just want to mention that the city's proposal involves taking on debt. It involves taking on debt because we have to buy 2 of these trucks and we have to buy totes. Not only for garbage, but we would also buy totes for those who want to recycle curbside. So there was a comment made at last week about, you know, what's the city's debt and is it smart to be taking on debt? The debt that we talked about last week was long-term debt. So when I became mayor 8 years ago or 7 years ago, our long-term debt was $42 million. Today our long-term debt is $26 million. It's very simple why it came down. We took on no new long-term debt and we made our payments on the debt that we had. So in that time, though, we have taken on many times short-term debt. So long-term debt is debt that's for 10 years or longer. Your term is 10 years or longer. Short-term debt is debt that we take out that we pay back in 3 to 5 years. So we've taken out short-term debt for fire trucks, for police cars. The Thompson sewer extension project that we did a couple years ago, that's with short-term debt. We have revenue sources for that to pay that debt. This will take out debt as well if we go this route, and we will have a very reliable revenue source in paying back that debt. And that is the fees that will be associated with garbage pickup and recycling pickup. So we can handle the debt. The debt's not a problem. So I just want to calm anybody's fears that the city's taking on more debt. This is short-term debt. It is not long-term debt. So I'm going to turn it over to Teresa.
Okay, see if I can go through this in a simplified manner. As we said the last meeting, and I'll say for myself personally, the goal was to get the guys off the backs of the trucks. That's what started all of this. So we basically had the 2 options, contracting out or keeping it in-house. If we keep it in-house, there's going to be some additional costs beyond what we were potentially looking at in the next couple of years by just buying a new rear riding garbage truck. So in transitioning to the new one-arm truck, everybody knows that's going to be an added expense, about $100,000 more than what we anticipated for a rear riding truck. However, going forward, if we keep it in-house, service is going to stay roughly the same. Pickups, I guess, they may change a little bit with the different operation of the truck. Recycling, we're looking at every other week. How we structure that, whether it's individually charged to the resident, not spread out to all of the residents, that's to be determined yet. Brush remains the same. We know residents value the brush pickup that we do. We want to keep doing that. The one thing that it does, what we're looking at doing anyways, is eliminating the what I'll call spring-fall cleanup day. There's been a little bit of discussion on why we're moving this to the fall. Just to be clear on that, springtime, summer, start of summer is our busy time with the street department. That's where sidewalks are starting, curbs are starting, streets are starting, all of that. So to take the guys out of the street department to help with cleanup, 2 weeks, I think is what it ends up being, we can't afford to do that. So fall time is a little bit more, I don't want to say downtime because there's never a downtime, but it's a little bit slower at that point in time, so it makes more sense to do, if we were going to do a cleanup, to do it in the fall. So that's why we're looking at fall anyways. But the mayor touched on debt. If we do keep it in-house, we are going to be looking at, I'm going to say significant debt, short term. We would be looking at the need for 2 trucks because we have to have a backup. We pick up every single day. If one truck is down, we can't afford to have a truck out of service for more than 24 hours. So that includes having to buy 2 dump trucks. We also have the totes. As both gentlemen spoke about the totes, they're expensive. They're very expensive. We're looking at just a cost of $230,000 for just our garbage totes for the residents. It's significant. However, we have to have some backups because some may get broken. We have to store them, all of that. So in looking at the debt, we're looking at roughly $800,000 for totes and 2 trucks. And that's just totes for garbage. That's not including anything for recycling. So if we stretch that out over what I would say for short term for 5 years, we've kind of got the figures calculated out. The 2 trucks, all the totes. If we look at a fee to include for that, our fees of what we're looking at to make us kind of comfortable with our budget of about where both companies, Republic and LRS, are at about their 5th or 6th year. So we would have to start out at what they're proposing in their 5th and 6th year. We'd have to start with that in our 1st year. So any questions? I don't know how far to go with this. If you guys want me to highlight anything specific?
The one thing about the, starting out in year 6, where they're starting out in year 1, the thing is, we would be maintaining that figure. That figure would not rise. We could maintain that figure for, well, at the end of 5 years, our debt's paid off. I mean, theoretically, it could even come down. But we can control our costs, and I mentioned this last week. We can control our costs better to the resident for what their fees are than a private company can, only simply because they are in the business to make money. They are a business. We are in the business of meeting our expenses and providing the services to the resident. So you have to look at this long term. I'm talking year 6 on. You have to look at this long term. From our perspective, as far as what we would be charging the resident, it makes more sense long term. So that's and then the other thing that this does with Teresa's figures and what we would be paying or charging our residents, these are expensive trucks. These trucks are $270,000, $300,000 a piece. We have it factored in the budget with these fees that after 5 years, 6 years, we'll have the money in the bank to buy a new truck once needs to be replaced. We will not have to take out any new debt. And so this is all factored in everything in the budget with these departments. The fees cover everything. So
I should have explained that a little bit better. So we do have factored in our projections, what I would say, about 6 years out where the fee would stay the same for the next 6 years. And that would get us to the point of paying off the short-term debt for both garbage trucks, but it also has allowed us to put approximately $60,000 away each year to purchase the next truck after 5 years and start that rotation of the trucks, getting rid of the older truck or the one that's not getting as many miles on it. So we're not in this predicament at some point where, okay, now we're at year 5 or 6 and we got to buy 2 new trucks. Well, you just need to get on that projected rotation of what's going to make sense for us. But being able to put away $60,000 each year will definitely help us. So keeping that fee might go up a little bit, but you're going to be able to stabilize it for 6, 7, 8 years. So the other thing that happens in year, I'm going to say year 2 for sure, is we now go from 3 guys on the truck to 1 guy. So you're also taking 2 salaries from that department and transitioning them over to a couple of other departments. So the cost will go down for the garbage department, but will be absorbed in other departments.
And as far as curbside recycling, because Teresa mentioned that this debt that we're talking about does not include recycling totes, but we do the curbside recycling, and the thought is that we will do that, but we will we'll only charge those who want to do curbside recycling. Providing the residents a choice, whether they want to, those that do not recycle, we want to encourage recycling. It's the right thing to do. A lot of people, from what I hear, are taking recycling out to the transfer station as well. But so those fees, and it'll be a minimal fee per month. Will pay for us to buy those new totes and to buy the totes only for those who want to recycle curbside with extras and storage. So that's the plan. That's the idea. So curbside recycling is not going away regardless.
So I'm not sure what we want to open up for discussion at this meeting, or do you
save it for another agenda item, or how do you want to handle it?
Well, the way it works, so tonight's meeting was for the proposals, and we offered our proposal as well. Now, figures were not shared, and it's understandable why. I will say that when the time comes to make the decision and we do vote, the figures will be revealed. But, obviously not now, so everybody knows what we did and why we're doing it. And so between now and next week, our next meeting is a week from tonight, because Monday is President's Day. Between now and then, we'll hear from the public, I'm hoping. We'll hear, we'll discuss. It's difficult to do it one-on-one, but we'll do it. And I'm hoping that at our next meeting, we will come to a consensus on which way we're going. Are we going public or private? And if we go private, which way are we going to go? Or are we going to keep it in-house? And once that decision is made, then we can go forward with the particulars. And when a vote will be needed will be at the time that it comes before the council for increasing fees or a contract signed with a private company.
Thank you.
Stephanie?
Just one more quick question. Sorry, Stephanie. What's the expected lifespan of a truck?
That's a good question. 5 years, 6 years. And that's what I've been told. Now Quint has done a lot of research. Our street department head, who oversees the garbage, he has met with a company over in the Quad Cities where you get the trucks. He's we've done our due diligence on this. He's gone over, just like Marty did, and went over to Lynette and talked to them about their truck and so on. So there's a lot of moving parts with these trucks. There are a lot more hydraulics, a lot more issues can go wrong with these trucks. So.
Which is the reason for having two.
So 5 to 6 years is what we're looking at. Okay, I just.
It's a guess. It's a best guess, but
I figured it wasn't completely hypothetical.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's how going forward, how things are going to go going forward. So again, a week from tonight, I'm hoping that we'll have a consensus on which way we want to go, and then it'll be a consensus. Won't be a vote. Won't take a vote. It'll just be a consensus. Everybody is on the same page, or a majority, and then we will. Once we know which way we're going to go, then we'll work on the specifics.
Which would mean an ordinance would be presented reading after that.
We need an ordinance regardless of which way we go. Do it be private or fee increase?
I think if you say private, then nothing changes.
For public, nothing changes.
If you contract with either LRS or Republic, then there would be an ordinance to authorize that relationship for those services.
If we have to increase garbage fees, we have to have, wouldn't that be ordinance?
Yeah.
But that's all it would be if it stays in-house.
Yes, and taking out that would be also a resolution that we would have to pass.
Correct.
So, okay, all right.
Chuck, you have something?
You would also need to specify. It sounds like you're going to make some changes to automated services going forward, one way or another. You'd also need to specify if the residents in the alley would be required to bring it out to the street.
Exactly.
A small thing, but a big thing to those folks, and that's all.
And I'm just kind of curious. You guys are here. I mean, I know what you've said as far as your trucks going down our alleys. Doesn't seem to be a problem. As far as the workability of the hydraulics and everything, the only thing that concerns me on going down the alleys is these trucks weigh a lot more, and we have a lot of gravel, and I'm wondering how we beat up alleys.
I don't want to answer. I absolutely understand. There is potentially more wear and tear on the alleys, especially turning out of them and turning up the culverts. That just comes with the territory on automated truck or any trash truck for that matter, whether they're new, old, automated, non-automated, rear load, front load. Getting the residents, if they're on board with it, to move their trash to the street. It helps with automation in majority of the cases, and I don't want to speak for another company, but generally in the industry that seems to ring true.
It goes faster, it's smoother, more efficient, I'm assuming.
Safer, the whole works.
The whole
yeah.
works. Yeah.
But then there's the folks that like to have their trash in the alley, and that's an obstacle city council is going to have to, as a governing leadership for the community. Why you were elected to be in the positions that you're in is to make those tough decisions. Well, I fortunately get to sit on the sidelines and just live.
Yeah, very good.
Appreciate it. Fortunately, that's where you're at.
Thanks. Anybody on the council, any more questions? Anybody from the public? Any questions, comments? All right, well, good meeting. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and reconvene.
I move that we adjourn our special meeting this evening, reconvene for our next regular council meeting on Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, 7 o'clock here at City Hall.
Second.
Motion has been second. Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
McCransky.
Aye.
Mayor Quinn.